Hi, and welcome to EBA Day TV. And today I'm speaking to Ian Kerr of Clear2Pay, and we're going to be talking about testing. So, Clear2Pay recently ran a survey on a Sepa end date migration, which showed that nearly all bankers worry about the level of Sepa testing that they'll have to do before the end date. Why is this such a headache for banks?
I think the survey was quite interesting. Actually, 97% of the responders felt that Sepa would drastically increase the testing requirements for their bank. But only 15% felt that they were confident in their IT departments in being able to step up to the challenge. I think that's down to a number of things. Testing in the payments business or in banking in general has got a number of issues that are at the forefront of people's minds. And I guess the top four from our experience are probably number one is service quality and availability. Number two is probably regulatory compliance and accreditation. Number three is time to market of new functionality. And of course, everybody is obsessed with cost control. And I think that the Sepa migration probably hits across all of those four topics simultaneously. There's basically a lot to do. Any core payment system migration project contains lots of new components, lots of new message sets, lots of new interfaces, basically a whole bunch of new moving parts, all of which need to be tested thoroughly, end to end, in order to be confident of being able to hit those issues of quality, accreditation, time to market and cost control when it comes around to the final date. And as the clock will tick louder and louder as we get towards February 2014, it's a key priority project for many organisations, and I think the sooner that a start is made, in particularly in building testing into the project from the outset, the better chance there'll be of ultimate success.
I mean, yeah, when you talk about testing, I think one of the biggest headaches is really people worry about cost. So, what does the average bank spend on testing these types of implementation projects?
That's a very interesting question, and it's a very difficult one to answer because it really just depends. There was a rule of thumb statistic I've seen from Tower Group that suggested between 20 and 30% of the total project cost actually goes on testing. I think in certain mission critical projects, it's a dependency of functionality, the number of interfaces, the amount of volume and stress testing that needs to be done. It can actually get higher than that. I think rather than focusing on the cost component of the testing project, it's probably interesting to look at the payback and the business case, because by investing in the right end-to-end test automation framework, there can be many benefits generated back to the bank, not just in terms of reduced cost, but if you invest in the right approach and have the right test automation strategy, you get to a virtuous circle of benefits. As you start building and populating the framework, obviously working with domain knowledgeable people that understand that payments business and understand the end-to-end testing requirements, you gradually then can allocate more resources that previously would have been involved in testing on a manual basis into more interesting and more beneficial areas, such as new test case creation, test case management. And as we go through the cycle of releases and testing, you gradually populate that test case library. You get more tests that run on an automated basis. You discover defects that much earlier. You can bring out new releases that much quicker, freeing up more resources, reducing costs. And this is a repetitive and long-term benefit that goes into the future for the bank. So it is an investment, absolutely. But if it's invested in the right way, the long-term benefits are there to be enjoyed.
What are some of the benefits of this type of integrated approach?
I think things we just mentioned, I think really about reduced errors, being able to identify those errors and defects earlier in the process, being able to then apply resources into more complex situations. It's not possible to automate 100% of testing, but if you can apply the right end-to-end framework to get through the vast majority, certainly 60% and probably getting towards 90% is achievable, depending on the nature of the project. That means that you're freeing up your resources for the more difficult situations. And again, that has a key benefit. I think there's some other things that we've been thinking about as well. I think one of the results of the survey that we announced earlier today was that all banks are expecting that the competition in the corporate client market is going to be stiffer post-Sepa. And this throws up some interesting possibilities. And a thought that we had was, What if the bank actually looked on the testing process as an opportunity to differentiate rather than just a burden or a chore that has to be gone through to get towards the end date and the migration process? And particularly if the bank was able to move that testing process closer to the corporate customer, helping them with their own testing and accreditation, and moving them to a position where they can start pumping through Sepa transactions that much faster. And maybe a really enlightened bank could work with a testing solutions provider that had the domain-specific capability, maybe getting referral fees, changing the nature of the relationship with the corporate client to everyone's ultimate benefit.
So why don't we look at trends? What are some of the latest trends we're seeing in payments testing?
I think there's a number of interesting trends. I think, first of all, I think that people are taking testing very seriously, and the leading practitioners that we're working with see testing as being a key component at the outset of a project rather than an afterthought or something to be done at the end. I think there is a key trend towards working with very focused industry and transaction-specific testing tools that really are focused around the job in hand, so choosing the right tools for the job. Over the last few years, I think a trend that we have seen in the industry has been to outsource testing to lower cost offshore locations. That's met with, I think, mixed success. I think one of the key success criteria of a testing project is that domain knowledge and the ability to really understand the banking business, the payments business, and what that really means. And I think an increasing trend is actually using a combination of the right technology focused around the particular requirement that actually can enable banks to outsource with confidence. So you can actually move the execution of the testing process offshore, but with a bit more certainty in the outcome.